Greetings, greetings. Sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and I wanted to check in with you. So hopefully you have some water in a wine glass so you can stay hydrated. So just be mindful today, whatever the internet connection today, I can't see any of the chat. So today I wanted to come in and touch on something I've mentioned on this channel before. And it's stress as it relates to really the thought that's coming up, and the observation is that stress is really beating up your efforts at weight loss. So what I like to refer to as weight release and to clear skin. And this is an issue for many women. It doesn't feel good to have a lot of acne and scarring on our face. I know I've experienced it, and it was not fun. Even being very fit and muscular, it did not feel good at all. Actually, I found it quite a lot of mental stress to have so much scarring on our face. So, and on my face, especially, I know we could say, oh, beauty's only skin deep, but I'll be real with you. That was a source of stress, and I would have given anything, even all the muscle and the training I had at the time, to be rid of all the acne, cystic acne, big bumps, scars, marks, and hyperpigmentation that was on my face. As well as, I don't think anyone really wants to be unhealthily overweight. We learn to live with these things, and it can become kind of normalized, and we just get used to it. But I don't think any of us really is ever truly happy with limited movement. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have other areas of our lives that we're experiencing some kind of accomplishment or success. However, to have extra weight that inhibits your movement, and also knowing in your mind, in the back of your mind, intuitively, that if we are at a unhealthful overweight, only you can send your private moments, what you know, what you think intuitively. If you're carrying a lot, in particular, adipose tissue around your midsection, that is usually the most dangerous place to carry additional adipose tissue, because that is usually a precursor for diabetes and the comorbidities that go with it: diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease, and all the symptoms that go with it. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Body-Culinary. I am a professional chef, a personal trainer, natural-born woman, lover of all things natural. And on this channel, what I'd like to share is just some of my journey of radical self-acceptance, motivation, and inspiration to cultivate, start, or reactivate a personal movement practice, what some people like to call exercise. I refer to as vigorous, joyous movement, right? With a bit of education doused in there. Motivation to peaceful consumption, peaceful to your womb and or reproductive organs, to your arteries, to your brain, to your mood. I know a lot of times we like to focus on the face and on muscles. However, I invite you to consider consuming for the control center, the brain. I think some of us may not even be thinking about it, right? Because we're moving at such a pace, as well as your liver and your spleen. You know, the internal organs don't get as much play because we can't see them, right? So I invite you also to eat for your mood, right? To just slow down, to consider if the things that you're eating that are a party in your mouth, and I love loads of flavor. However, they could be exacerbating, actually, even though initially they seem like they're calming our stress, and we're actually using the different snack foods and substances masquerading as foods, right? We're not going to demonize them, but really, how are they nourishing our cells? How are they really helping to strengthen our immune system? How are these substances that are masquerading as food, how are they performing in the body, right? So I am big on reframing the narrative in a way not to make us wrong, right? I like to be effective, right? Even more than being right, I'd rather be effective. That's with my son, with people I care about, with clients. So I have found effective over several decades, reframing the narrative and also looking at things objectively, right? Not so much what I think, feel, or my opinion, but to ask questions, right? To inquire about what's coming up, right? And we now know, current science confirms that most of our behaviors, many of our mindless behaviors, are driven by our subconscious. So I'm always fascinated by what drives us to human excellence and performance and the results that we want to have as human beings. And also, what is constantly triggering us to go mindless and go out of accountability and to have cognitive dissonance about the substances that we're putting into our body, and to kind of be relegated only to the delicious flavors in our mouth. Oh my gosh, so much sensation and flavor on the palate, but cognitively dissonant, distant, it not really registering the effects that each and every substance that passes through our lips is having on our mood, on our brain's ability to function, and the neurotransmitters for them to be able to signal back and forth, all the different chemicals and artificial flavorings. It's almost like we're programmed that they don't count because we see so many smiling faces on the packages, right, that we're eating. If you just think about it for a moment, when we're inside the market or the supermarket and you pick a product off of the shelf, it has these ingredients. We turn it over and we read the analysis of the nutritional ingredients, and we're looking at the picture of the smiling faces, or perhaps the picture of the real food, of the real whole food that originally it was made with, right? So much stuff is happening, in milliseconds. We're making all of these decisions. So I'm not in the business of telling grown folks what to do unless they're my clients. And that's what they pay me to do. And I have permission to enter into their space and to give them constructive feedback, right? So as a coach and a trainer, I am a catalyst, right? Your body is actually self-healing. It actually knows what to do. It actually knows how to adjust and fall to a healthy, natural weight for it when we simply get out of the way. And if we can start to cultivate more greetings. I can't see all of the chat today for some reason. However, when we get, oh, there it is. It looks like the chat is coming up now. So when we can slow down and cultivate and activate some awareness, and when I say cultivate, I mean to, let's say like it's a muscle that's totally atrophied. How can we develop the intangible, right? Because you can't see it. The intangible muscle of awareness. How can we create awareness? Some folks have more levels of awareness. There are some folks that are not fixated on food. And unfortunately, in today's society, there is a fixation on food, right? And it's legal. There are some substances that are more socially acceptable, right? Like a group get high, where we're just soothing, or eating primarily and consuming our consumption pattern. We're consuming primarily for recreation. And if we had to think about it, in total disregard or not acknowledging the body, I often think that if we could open the body, right? If we had like some clear glass and we can look in and we can see how the organs are performing and how they're responding to the different substances that have tremendous flavor, but that are masquerading as food, we might be shocked. We might drop the substances out of our hand. If we could speed up a camera to see how years and years and years of eating in a heightened state of stress, right? Some of this is intangible, what's going on in terms of chemically, right, inside the body. If we could speed up the camera to see how we're going to have long-reaching effects of all of our habits, our mindless habits, that might be incentive because of being highly aware of the cost. So then we might perhaps put those things down. And then perhaps we might pick it up again, because there's nothing that we're doing without a reason. And I invite you to have a healthy sense of curiosity. I found a healthy sense of curiosity can go much farther in being effective than beating ourselves up, and then more so than quote unquote strict discipline. right? Because that's trying and trying and trying and effort. And eventually we get kind of worn down psychologically and just kind of give up. However, I invite you to try and emphasize if you have a healthy sense of curiosity, right, and you're inquisitive and you want to see what would happen, it's you have more incentive because you get a payoff, right? If you're more present, pleasantly present to the discovery process, of what's going to happen, right? Imagine I'm stressed, right? You're stressed and you just got to take that cigarette, right? And if you could slow down to hear the mental dialogue, like, you might sound like, I don't give a damn. I'm going to have it right now. I don't care. Probably the I don't care is somewhere down in our subconscious because we know that we're destroying our lungs, right? Nobody wants to have to roll around in oxygen tank. And so this says, and anything I say is one woman's perspective, not necessarily the truth. If it doesn't resonate, leave it right here. So I suspect that we're underestimating. There's something, that blind spot, right? That there's an aspect of something that we're not connected to the cost. Why? Because the payoff of what we're getting from the opioids and the chemicals from the cigarettes or the alcohol or the substances masquerading as food, they're having a chemical effect which appears to be soothing. I would say, like, maybe more socially acceptable, a softer level of addiction, of drug addiction. And I'm just saying this as someone that comes from a family history of morbid obesity. Like, it's rampant. I've lost numerous family members to obesity, and I put it in the same class as maybe 1 or 2 levels up or down, whatever, on the spectrum. I would say it lies on the spectrum of medication and a way of coping, because there is something happening. There is a chemical response to the soothing with substances, whether that is drugs, whether that is alcohol, right? And that's not being present, right? Tuning out in our mind, but also having an opioid response. So there's something that you're welcome to look up on your own. Many of the things that we're craving. For example, I have this thing about getting to the root, right? I call myself even a root worker in the most practical sense, right? So many people, especially when we say we crave chocolate, So I have access to lots of whole, fresh chocolate. And the chocolate is actually, if not even the nibs, if you get the whole cacao, but the nibs as well, it's actually very bitter. It's not sweet at all. It's fragrant. It is not sweet. And as someone who spent a whole module in culinary school with chocolate and making chocolate, and I was so done with chocolate by the time we finished the module, I realized that a lot of it was the sugar and the fat that we're eating. And then also, I'm very aware in my travels that in different countries, the percentage of sugar and the percentage of fat is different. So, for example, in European countries, the chocolate isn't so sweet. It doesn't taste so candified. It's the more of the dark chocolate you'll find more in Europe, because their palate is different. In the US, where we eat more cheese doodles, where some European countries would turn their nose up, to those particular substances. Here in the States, the culture is more acceptable, more openly acceptable to processed snack foods, but you don't find that so much in Europe. So there's all of this going on. And to add to this, with all of the marketing that's coming at us, that's making us feel like we need to look a certain way, or is driving us to spend, and to focus so much on our appearance. These substances are not getting to the root of what is driving our behavior. It's actually a conflict of interest, because the more calm and relaxed you are, you'll find that you just don't need for much. You don't want for much. You're able to sit still. You're able to sit in observation of what it is that you have. It kind of stops you in your tracks, if this makes sense. So this is one of the reasons why, as a coach and a trainer that's worked with many people in the area, I'm very passionate around the areas of our consumption patterns, what drives human excellence and what drives our self-sabotaging behaviors, right? It's one of the reasons why I encourage a lot of relaxation, gardening, not just for food security, but because it is something that is extremely therapeutic. Your movement practice is extremely therapeutic, and it is something that we have access to. And I would say that we are so inundated here. It is so crowded and it's so cluttered. I've observed, even at times, even with myself, with so much education and so many good habits, I don't find that anyone is immune. If we have more good habits, if we have mindless habits or automatic habits built into a routine that works to our advantage. So making so many deposits into the 401k of my health to the point where it's routine has really served me. So it's so crowded up here. I would say we don't have access to slow down to observe. So the stress, right? Many of us, if you have acne and you're buying one more product and one more product, another product and more superfoods and all this stuff, you're crowding all these things in, and we're not even really observing the rhythms of the body or what your skin is communicating to you. So I invite you to slow down, pause, and say, perhaps in the area of acne, right? You can see how jacked up my face was looking in the community section. If you scroll down, I invite you to, and this is going to sound, I'm not meaning to trigger anybody if you have a lot of acne, because I can dig it. I invite you to thank your acne, to thank it. And I invite you to slow down and to ask it a question. And it's working with, and that's going to lead you to reverse engineer to your liver and your skin. I invite you to look on one of these fancy apps on one of those $1,000, $2,000 phones. And I invite you to look at your organs and see how they function. This is one eliminative organ, the largest in the body. It's on the outside. So a lot of our focus and attention is on the outside. And so we're not present to the cost of what's happening on the inside of this living, breathing temple, vehicle, car, human suit that we are driving in around on this level of existence. And at some point, every single person on YouTube and on the planet will take their human suit and place it down. So we're having an experience. We're moving fast. It's cluttered up here. It's cluttered. So the stress, I would say, and I've observed, even for folks that have made tremendous strides in weight release, I rather say weight release more so than weight loss, because you can be spiritually and mentally obese. But that's another story. It's the stress. I've seen people make tremendous strides, and the moment that phone starts ringing with stress or news or triggered relationships, it's like the channel has changed. You're on another frequency, and the stress, it's almost like it doesn't let up. So when you're engaged in constant, you're on the receiving end of constant stress, and it goes up and down to varying degrees, culturally, economics, relationships, children, fear. I would say it's unending. So rather than beat ourselves up, it's like, wow, to give ourselves some understanding and some grace. It's no wonder that we're continually medicating ourselves and looking to soothe ourselves, because the stress that's inside the brain is the organ, the mind, or the mind of thought, the mental activity is a function of the brain. You can't see that with your eyes, right? Maybe perhaps if we hooked up some electrodes to the mind and we could see the function, if it was jumping all over the place, we might be amazed. So it's one of the reasons why I really invite you just to consider, to slow down, to consider relaxation. You don't have to call it meditation. You don't have to call it anything. The slowing down. We're not really taking stock of just how critical the physical organ of the brain is. It's the control center. Number one, the brain and the spine. So it's not all dried out. It needs to be hydrated with water, living water in particular. And the mental thought. There's so much programmed software downloads into the hardware that it's beyond us. And most of our behavior is on automatic pilot. So the stress, I invite you to consider, to take a moment. And here are a couple of things that you're welcome to try. I'd like you to take, or you're invited to take a journal, a pencil and paper, and to write down, can you identify any of the things that are causing you stress, any of them, and don't censor it. What is causing you stress? I'd like you to write down or to explore, how long have you been on the receiving end of this stress? Number 3, have you been choosing this stress without making yourself bad or wrong? It's just an exploration, right? Have you been choosing it? And then number 4, why have you been choosing to engage in this stressor? Obligation, you have to, without censoring it, right? So you can give yourself access to the blind spot. And then number 5, what I invite you to do is read the whole thing over again and to write down, I'm open and I'm willing to see this stress from another point of view. And this is what I am willing to do about it. And it could be one teeny, 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 tiny little thing, right? Even if it's like journaling or slowing down to do some breathing and relaxation. If you look at some of the videos in the cocoon section or the mini medi or relaxation series, some of them are very, very short. Some are a little longer and more instructional around stress. I invite you to tune into and really just give yourself some basic education around stress, and also to slow down to acknowledge its effect on you, not just physically, but starting first here mentally from the brain, the control center, all of the instructions. Everything we're watching, how the brain is processing it, we're constantly downloading instructions. I would say it's even hypnotic. And to give yourself some compassion to understand how your own brain and psyche is working and what is driving your behavior. So see, these are some of the things, in addition to practical information that we go over in the cocoon, and common sense nutrition, which is during lunchtime, and that alternates days with common sense nutrition and efficient fitness. To cut the guesswork, you do not need a gym. You don't need fancy equipment. Understanding our psyche is really important. Relaxation, intentional, making space for relaxation. If we do not make space for relaxation, even if it's 10 minutes, we may be underestimating its effects, right? And its long-reaching effects. It's a leveraged activity. The deposit of relaxation that you put in is a leverage activity. It will give you more. You will get such a great return on your investment. And also, I know something for me in terms of this fine cottony hair, it's one of the reasons why I have taken many things off the table so that I can make mental space for the relaxation. So I love all kind of hairstyles. I've done everything from little peach fuzz, TWA, everything. So for me, removing lots of things that are necessary. I still have something I can enjoy. I want to remove a lot of things out of the way because I really prioritize relaxation. So I just want to say thank you so much appreciation to folks that have been sending me positive vibes. My shoulder is still aching. However, if I put my attention towards relaxing kinds of activities or cleaning or organizing or sitting down to read, I can actually take my mind off of, my shoulder or replaying the car accident, all that stuff. It's very, very intentional. And I find these are muscles that we're not necessarily encouraged to strengthen. You do not have to necessarily go to an ashram or join a cult or a religion to be very practical in your approach to your own hardware and your own software, right, of this divine machine. So with that being said, I hope this is helpful. You're welcome to replay it while you're decluttering or chopping some vegetables or while you are stretching. I would love to hear any kind of feedback. Thank you so much. Shout out to Lauren Rosetta and Love One Way and Jaleesa and all the positive vibes you've been sending. So just moving on to vibes, to have some other content. It's such a busy day, but I'm also acknowledging taking the time to nurse my shoulder. So y'all create a great day on purpose. Do check out Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. If you like a guide and some insight into consuming whole, fresh, unprocessed foods, yes, it's totally possible as a lifestyle. The labels, who cares about the labels? As well as natural beauty, no products. You can find those both on body-culinary.com. You can ask to be waitlisted if you'd like to do a private cocoon or if you're interested in coaching. All right, y'all, create a great day on purpose, and I will see you soon.